So, morning, everyone. I was just saying how lovely it is to see so many familiar names and faces, and then also so many new ones. And for those listening to the recording later, you are so welcome too. And I love this not to just be a one-way conversation, but actually to, if you want to put anything in the chat, say hi, um, let us know how you are, like Jen has, and like Hilda. And you might also want to just take a moment to pause to see what your weather is like inside. And it can change from moment to moment. Mine, this morning has gone from calm to agitated to just noticing a rushing feeling and then trying to calm again. But what is the weather like inside you? Is it still or stormy? Is it sunny or dark or heavy? And you're welcome to share that in the chat or just notice it for yourself. And if you have oils, this is the time that I invite you to use them to facilitate your practice. Frankincense has been used for hundreds of years, thousands of years in religious ceremonies because of its ability to slow our breath, to induce a meditative state, um, and to ground us and calm us. Frankincense trees grow in the most arid and harsh of landscapes, and yet they weather all these sorts of conditions and storms. And it's that rootedness, that calming, grounding that we are engaging when we use any of the tree oils, frankincense, copaiba, sandalwood, cedarwood, all of those. So I like to put a bit of frankincense on my palate. I put it on my thumb first, and then I hold it to my palate while inhaling the smell from the bottle. I usually do it for a bit longer, but I'm not going to do it for long now. And I love my rose roller. Rose is the oil of divine love, and it just connects me to God's love, and set an intention for God's words to flow through me, and this for this to be for the highest benefit and use for everyone. And then my oil that I'm introducing today is my breathe oil. I've already used my eucalyptus in the shower, and this is just because, well, you'll know a bit more later why. So I just put a drop in my hands and then inhale. And I did the same in the shower with my eucalyptus. I love having my eucalyptus, and I'd put a few drops around the shower, or you can do it with breathe, especially if you've got a closed-in, smaller shower. It works so well. It works like a little diffuser. And then I put a drop in my hands. Yeah, and so Hilda makes a great point. It's eclipse energy. And I love the emojis because that's exactly what it brings to us. And many of us, so the eclipse happens today. It's an annular solar eclipse, or the ring of fire. And I'll explain that a little bit more. But eclipse energy isn't just felt on the day of the eclipse. One can feel it in the time before and the time after. Eclipse energy actually lasts quite a long time, and it's a very powerful, very strong energy. And so just to tell you, it's an annular solar eclipse. So we have a micro new moon. So we've talked about super moons, which is where the full moon is the closest to the Earth. This is a new moon, but it's quite far from the Earth, so it's micro. It's a bit smaller than normal. And it's passing in front of the sun. This is only happening in South America. Well, that it can be seen only, unfortunately, in South America. And that the moon will pass in front of the sun and will create this ring of fire around the sun. It's very profound when you see it happen. And there's lots around history about the annular solar eclipse. I think it happened at one of the Zulu Wars. Anyway, we won't get distracted. But you can watch a live stream online tonight. It's at 7:15 tonight. I'll share the link for this, the information on this annular solar eclipse, the astronomical information, because this is astronomy. I'll share that on the Mindful Moment group and on the Spring Shake group later. And I started to become fascinated with the moon when I started to understand how it connected to our menstrual cycle. And both the moon cycle and our menstrual cycle are 28-day cycles. And in fact, our calendar used to be a 28 28-day, 13-month calendar, and we have 13 cycles, menstrual cycles usually in the year. Most women do. And I'm just going to read you an extract from my website, which I can also share with you later. The 13-month, 28-day alternative has been used on this planet for more than 6,000 years. The 13-month, 28-day calendar. In prehistoric India and China and throughout South America was the standard timekeeping system. The Essenes, Egyptians, Polynesians, Maya, Inca, Lakota, and Cherokee used a 13-month, 28-day calendar. The Celtic knowledge of the Draves is based on the tree calendar, also a 13-month, 28-day calendar. Today, many cultures are still using their traditional 13-month calendar system. And then it goes on later to say, by 1583, the Catholic Church installed its reform of time known as the Gregorian calendar. Simultaneous to the proclamation of the Gregorian calendar was the development of mechanized time, the basis of all machine technology. Instead of the 1320 galactic frequency of time, which is 13 months and 20 minutes, I think, 1320, the planet was bequeathed with 12-month, 60-minute hours frequency of machine technology. So again, I can share the link. So what I started to realize was that the new Gregorian calendar of 12 months completely dissociates us from nature, from our connection to nature, from really noticing, because certainly when I grew up, it was never pointed out and I never noticed that my menstrual cycle was aligned to the moon cycle. And most women don't notice because we haven't paid attention, but when you start to pay attention, you really do notice that most women ovulate on the full moon. That's the high energy time of nature. The full menstrual time, the ovulatory time is the high energy time of our cycle. And then they menstruate on the new moon. So that's the dark the dark time, not dark energy, dark time. It's the going to ground, it's the retreat. But not all women do that. Sometimes it's flipped around. Sometimes we ovulate on the new moon and menstruate on the full moon. And that's because in days gone by, women didn't have ways of dealing with their cycles, with their periods. So they'd have to retreat from the world, which would allow them time to rest and restore over that time. Other women would take over the feeding and the nurturing in the community, and these women would retreat while they were bleeding. And so again, that was ancient wisdom that we've lost. Now we charge on through our menstrual time as if there's nothing happening and not honoring our bodies. So I'm not going to go into this too much. I talk much more about it in my feminine wisdom course. But this is what started my fascination with the moon and my moon gazing. And I would take Shadow, our little dog, out for every morning and evening for a wee. And I'd look up at the sky and I'd notice how the moon would change and the waxing and the waning and where it would be in the sky and when it would be rising and where it would be. I got a little app called Skyview Light, which you hold up to certain stars, and it's a free app, and you can see what the constellations, it maps out the constellation. And so suddenly I saw, well, the moon is sitting in Pisces, or it is sitting in Scorpio, or it is sitting in Leo. And so I started to think, well, gosh, this is all the astronomy, which my Aunt Ellen, who always joins us on this, has learned about and talked about for years. But I was quite scared about it because I came from a Christian background and we were taught that astrology was not something of God. But during the same times, this was all sort of the beginning of COVID times, I found COVID quite a dark time. I really didn't like what was going on in the world, the energy of the world, and I was really confused by how it was happening and how it was unfolding as it was. And I was shared some videos by friends of mine who had similar feelings to me of these astrologers, of Pam Gregory and Michelle McClulan. And I found such comfort from them, these amazing, wise women presenting what was more of a roadmap. It's not a forecast of things to come. It's a kind of a roadmap, an indication. And I listened more and more, and I found in these talks, I found explanations of what was happening. I found love. I found tools to use to help me manage my stress. I found great comfort. And the more I listened, the more it made sense. And I wondered why we'd been taught to fear it. because God made the moon and the stars and the sun and set them in the sky and set them in these constellations and these ways so that they moved in these incredible ways. And around that time, I also remembered the words of one of my gurus, Dr. Christiane Northrup, who, if you come on my Feminine Wisdom course sometime, you'll also hear a lot more about her. But she poignantly said that the areas we've been taught to fear the most are where our true power lies. So she talked about birth, our periods and our menstrual times, orgasm, menopause, and even death. And I'd like to add the number 13 to this. And the number 13, 13 months, 13 cycles, 13 is the number of the divine feminine. And so it's no wonder we've been taught to be scared of it. And a few weeks ago, I shared about, because it was Friday the 13th, I shared about a bit more about the number of divine feminine and 13. Anyway, so this is why I now do follow astrology and why I'd love to share it with you today. And today's solar eclipse is in Libra, and Libra is all about relationships and emotions and also our defensiveness. We know the symbol of Libra is the scales, and that's all about balance. And none of us are ever in perfect balance. It's always a moving thing. But it's about bringing, a lot of it's bringing more balance to our life and to our relationships. It's also a solar eclipse. It's a south node solar eclipse. So the moon has nodes, a north node and a south node. And in astrology, this north node relates to the future and where you're going, and the south node relates to the past and all the things that are past. And so this is a solar eclipse in the south node. So it's all our old stuff and karmic patterns coming up. So I'm not sure if I'm the only one who's noticed that. For me, in the last couple of weeks, there's been, especially the last week, a lot of old stuff coming up. But the exciting thing is that this, like a new moon, is always a time of new beginnings. So that's what happens in our menstrual cycle. It's the start of our menstrual cycle. It's when biodynamic farmers who farm by the moon cycles, it's when they plant, because that's when the roots will go down rather than the seed growing too quickly. So this new moon is all about old patterns, old stuff coming up again. But this time we're going to clear it and heal it more fully than ever. It's about finishing off the old and about clearing and endings and fully resolving stuff that has been coming up and comes up, and it comes onto our radar again and again. And we're like, oh, I thought I'd done this. I thought I'd been through this. But there's also a lot of conflict at this time. I'm not going into it all. Michelle McClulan, the astrologer, it's a 20-minute video that I base a lot of this on, and I really encourage you to watch it. I'll talk about it just now. But there's a lot of conflict that could be coming out. So we really need to stay in our center and learn to respond wisely, but not to react. So to notice our body's responses, and to choose how we respond, but not to just be triggered and react or lash out. And this is what we practice a lot in these mindful moments. Like in our last one that we did, which was about the river flowing into the sea and fear. We did a lovely one on fear recently. So that looked at how to navigate fear. So I encourage you to watch that or share it with especially your teenagers. It's very helpful. So we can also use our On Guard roller. So many of you are getting oils for the first time in the spring shed, and the gift is an On Guard roller, which is a free gift, which is just, again, the universe supporting us. And it's On Guard, and if you didn't get that, you can make it. If you've got oils, you can make On Guard, a little On Guard roller for yourself to use during the shed. But it's all about asserting our physical and emotional boundaries. So On Guard is our protective blend, so it's very good and strong against viruses and bacteria. It's our blend we use to stop ourselves getting sick, or to use at the start of if we start to feel ourselves getting sick. But we can also use it emotionally to assert our boundaries in this world. We can use it on our pulse points and really bring in our mantra or our intention for the spring shed when we decide to do this. And if you're not on the spring shed, you can just do it for this month anyway. It's just because the spring shed is so astrologically aligned to this. So the new moon time is a time of pause, of slowing down. It's a dark time, but the light is still there. And it connects us to light coming out of the dark. And even if we're in a dark time in our lives, it's a reminder that there's always the light. And Michelle McClulan talked about this annular solar eclipse almost being like the flames burning away the stuff that we no longer want and need. And we're bringing ourselves back to our centers, slowing down our breath, calming down our nervous system. And these are all the tools that we're sharing with you on the Spring Shed, small bite-sized tools. So as I said, there's a lot more on YouTube, and I really encourage you to listen to Michelle McClulan's 20-minute session either today or tomorrow, just over the new moon eclipse to see what resonates with you. But what I also really wanted to share, and I realize we're talking a lot more than normal, but I think this is all really important, is that I want to reiterate what I mentioned on the 4th of September on our Hopi Elder Speaks Mindful Moment, where I talked about the new moon then, which was a month ago, which was on the 2nd and 3rd of September, and was a time for setting intentions, planting seeds, as new moons always are. And that was a new moon in Virgo, and was the last new moon before the eclipse, which is happening today. And the eclipse season started 2 weeks later. So it's kind of as we were preparing for the shed. And Virgo is all about health and healing, about separating the weeds from the chaff, cutting through people, finding what's true, honoring the flow of our body, our mind, our soul, and reconnecting with our body and mind and reconnecting with our body and our soul and what feels good and what doesn't. How do I feel after eating this? Am I drinking enough water? And she was just saying, Michelle McClulan again was saying how it was such an excellent new moon to detox. And it's all that whole energy at the moment is asking us to take full responsibility for our health and to be discerning, especially health-wise, of the threats that are coming up our way, of what the world's narrative of health and protecting ourselves is. So again, she talked about how it was all about clearing out the old, the top down, the governments, moving into this new age of Aquarius, which is more concerned with humanity, the collective, power to the people, what we're doing here together being a collective, what we're doing in the Spring Shed being a collective. This is where we get our power and energy. But she said there is a last gasp at control, of top-down control, like the founder of Telegram, which is a platform for free speech and far less controlled than WhatsApp and Facebook and things like that, and Instagram. He was arrested recently. I actually don't know what's come out of that. She also talked about lots of secrets coming to light, and we'll notice this in our news and in our high-profile people, or there'll be lots of secrets coming to light. But she also asked us, what makes life more sacred? What is sacred? How do we make it more sacred? And that's around creating rituals and process in our days. And again, this is what the Spring Shed is encouraging us to do, to when we do have our cup of coffee, or when we do make ourselves a drink or something to eat, that we do it with a sacred intent, that it's nourishing us and feeding us, and that we're really going to be present for it. So on this very auspicious day, on this very perfect time for setting intentions, not just mentally in our mind, but actually creating the feeling in our bodies as if it's already here, that nothing needs to change externally for us to tap into this feeling. So I encourage you to set an intention if you're on the Spring Shed for the Spring Shed, or even if you're not on the Spring Shed, it's not too late to join us. Actually, we're closing the sign-ups, I think, after today. But you can also still set an intention, and mine is to create breathing space for myself, physically and emotionally and work-wise and in relationships. Because my strength is I'm a connector. I love connecting people. I love connecting with people. I love, it is a real strength of mine, is connecting. But with every strength comes a shadow. And the shadow of connecting, especially connecting with others, is that I lose connection with myself. I go so outwardly that I lose connection with myself and my family and those closest to me, my loved ones. So my intention is about creating breathing space in my life. My mantra is going to be, I'm worthy of breathing space in my life, and hence my use of breathe, which I'll be using a lot of in the next 3 weeks. Other mantras are things like I move through life with ease and grace. Michelle McClulan also had some mantras that she mentioned, so you can listen to that. And my physical way of creating breathing space in my life is I'm going to practice breath work daily. I did Didi's lovely one yesterday, and I'll be teaching some other breath work practices, which are especially helpful. Men seem to tap into them very well later in the schedule, a number of different breath work practices. So it's practicing breath work using breathe oil. Physically, also, I've had this chronic sinusitis, which I know many people have had. I think it's post-COVID and post-COVID vaccine, which I didn't have the vaccine, but I had COVID. And I've always had sort of slightly blocked sinuses, but now it's on a different level. And I find myself mouth breathing shallowly, staying in a state of flight or fright. And I know many of you are feeling the same, and we're going to have a whole focus on unblocking sinuses with oils, with lymph drainage, with acupressure points. And it's stuff I've been doing, but I haven't brought consistency to it because I think I'm better, and then I stopped doing it. And so, yeah, so I'm going to really notice when I catch myself rushing through things and dropping into mouth breathing and not keep treating myself kindly. So you'll know why I chose today's poem. It's more for me than for anyone else, but I hope you'll find it a wonderful reminder too. So I invite you to close your eyes, drop your gaze if you don't want to close your eyes, and just allow your breath to settle. Just bring your attention into your body, noticing your feet on the floor, your seat in the chair, or wherever you might find yourselves. And let these words just land on your body. It only takes a reminder to breathe, a moment to be still. And just like that, something in me settles, softens, makes space for imperfection. The harsh voice of judgment drops to a whisper, and I remember again that life isn't a relay race, that we will all cross the finish line, that waking up to life is what we are born for. As many times as I forget, catch myself charging forward without even knowing where I'm going, that many times I can make the choice to stop, to breathe and be, and walk slowly into the mystery. Just allowing these words to settle as we allow our breath to settle. Following our in-breath from our nostrils, maybe where the coolness of the air outside meets our nostrils and the warmth of our body. Noticing as it travels to the back of our throat, down our throat into the chest, and even into our belly. Feeling into that belly breathing as Didi described in her breathing exercise. And just allowing for softening in our belly space. So that there's an expansion as we inhale. And as we exhale, there's just a softening, a letting go and allowing. So in the next few breaths, I just invite you to feel into all these sensations in your own time. Noticing the strength and support that your pelvis and your spine and your rib cage give you. And making sure that you are sitting in a comfortable position, or if you're lying down, just inviting a feeling of expansiveness still. So although we're sitting, just perhaps stretching our head, our neck, our skull, our shoulders up towards the sky, inviting a gentle softening and opening of our shoulders, and feeling into this feeling of dignity, of doing something truly important. And then as you follow each breath, noticing the softness that lies in your rib cage, in your heart space, your lung space, in your abdomen and belly. And just feeling into the balance of these two, the strength and the softness. Into the receiving of the breath and the giving out. The inhale and the exhale. And then bringing your attention into your heart space. Perhaps you might want to put your hands over your heart space, the middle of your chest or over your heart, just to anchor your attention to this area. And I invite you to imagine you're breathing directly into and out of your heart space, as if there was a funnel of breath. It might have a color or a light or a texture, whatever you find for yourself today. And then inviting a feeling of gratitude, a sensation of gratitude into your heart space. Like just gratitude for this breath, nothing more, just honoring this breath and acknowledging that when we are breathing, there's more right with us than wrong with us. And so just taking a few breaths with this sensation of gratitude. And perhaps inviting it and allowing it to slowly spread as your heart is pumped, as your blood is pumped from your heart and moves out through your arteries, arterioles, and capillaries to the tiniest hair on your body, to every part of your skin. So perhaps allowing this gratitude to slowly expand through your body. So that you may feel it tingling at your fingertips, in your toes, shimmering on the surface of your skin. It only takes a reminder to breathe, a moment to be still, and just like that, something in me settles, softens, makes space for imperfection. The harsh voice of judgment drops to a whisper, and I remember again that life isn't a relay race, that we will all cross the finish line, that waking up to life is what we were born for. As many times as I forget, catch myself charging forward without even knowing where I'm going, that many times I can make the choice to stop, to breathe and be, and walk slowly into the mystery. As we set our intentions for this month, this lunar calendar, this lunar cycle, the spring shed, and we feel them in our bodies as if they're already here. It's not a forcing, a punitive, a driving, it's an allowing. It's allowing whatever is inside us already to arise. And when you're ready, just taking a few more breaths, perhaps rubbing your thumbs over your fingertips, moving your toes, rubbing your hands together or on your thighs, perhaps giving yourself a A rub, squeezing your shoulders, your arms, giving yourself a hug like you might a child. There. It's going to be okay. I'm here for you. I'm here with you. When you're ready, opening your eyes and coming back to the room or space that you're in, looking at the colors and the light, and taking in the names and faces on the screen, seeing who's here with us. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for the comments. I'm going to have a look at some of the comments now. You're welcome to leave if you need to go. If you'd like to unmute and share anything that came up for you, I'd always love to hear, or type anything in the chat. Ellen says she loves the explanation when the moon cuts the light. Sorry, when the moon cuts the light of the sun during an eclipse, it's a similar energy to rebooting a computer when it gets glitchy. Doesn't my computer know that with all my tabs open and everything? Thank you, Ellen. That's one of my spring shape things, is to keep tabs open only not for as long as I need them, keep them open and then close them, not having too many tabs open in my computer and in my life. And if you have to go, I wish you a blessed day and a blessed solar eclipse. And I will share some of these links and I'll share the recording. And please feel free to share with those who you feel this might be supportive of, even if they're not on the Spring Shed or in our community. This is open and free to anyone every week. And if it was supportive to you, perhaps it will be supportive to someone else. And if you go onto my YouTube channel and like it or subscribe or comment, that also increases how much it is shared on YouTube as well. Do you, Hilda? All the open tabs. I know. I see it as a very physical manifestation of actually how my mind works. Perhaps yours does the same. Thank you, everyone. Just give a few more minutes if anyone wants to share anything else. Yeah, so you also referred to as narrowing the bandwidth. I love that. Thank you. Yeah, whom you all love. We'll see you next week. I can see you typing, Mum, are you? Yeah. Thanks, Ellen. Thanks, Cheryl. Thanks for your support in the shed. Bye-bye, Sue. Lovely to see you. I love the way she describes that the spring shed is like an advent calendar. You open something exciting every day. Yes, hi, Gail.
I can never but I just want to say it was as lovely as ever, as calming as ever, and thank you for everything that you do. Love you lots.
Thank you. Love you lots too. And hopefully we might share this with Bruce sometime later today. Tell him it's sent with my love to him. And
I have to
listen sometime.
I said to him, "Are you going to join me?" So he said, "No." At the beginning, there were so few people. He said, "No, everyone has actually died of starvation."
From the spring shed. Oh my gosh, we love that. We love the humor that the men in our lives so often bring. And and Colin has promised me he's going to listen to this later because he said he's going to gym. He needs to exercise. I said, but what about the mindful moment? So he said, no. I said, as long as you promise you'll listen to it later. So he has promised me he will. So
okay. Hopefully I'll tell Bruce as well.
Thank you. Love to all. Thank you. Bye.